back to the channel, and today I just want to talk about how anti-vaxxers are literally off their rockers. Normal people would know this, but seriously, I just want to talk about it. Some popular things they say is that vaccinations cause autism. No, they don't. That's literally a genetic mutation that happens at conception. If your kid has autism, that is because something along the lines when they were cooking went wrong, and now you have a kid with autism. And besides, what's so wrong with kids with autism? I mean, those kids are like the quietest, most behaved kids like ever. And they also aren't afraid to speak their mind, so when they need something, they'll just tell you. I mean, kids with autism aren't bad. I don't get why the anti-vax community wants to make them look like, hey, if you have autism, you got vaccinated, blah, blah, blah. Well, your kid probably has autism and you don't know it. Because you won't take him into a doctor because the doctor will tell you to vaccinate that kid. In my opinion, vaccination should be also considered child abuse, since you are willingly putting your child in a position where they could potentially die from a disease that died out years ago thanks to vaccination, and you're willingly doing it. You're willingly killing your own child. And that ain't it, sis. Also, here's another thing why I absolutely hate and have zero respect for parents who will not vaccinate their children. As you all may know, last year there was a measles outbreak, and one of the states that got affected was my state. My grandma, bless her soul, not the one I live with, but my grandma on my mom's side, come down with lymphoma for the second time, and this time it was worse. It was more vigorous, but she could have had a chance of surviving if not for those stupid anti-vax parents who decide, oh, the measles, that sounds like a fun disease to bring back. Let's do that. Like, clearly, what I think of when I think of parents that are anti-vaccination is a kid getting dropped on their head as a baby and growing up to be anti-vaccination. Like, that's what I think happens with these anti-vax parents, like, because there's no way they are sane. There's literally no way. If you are willingly killing your own child, there's no way you are sane. Vaccines don't cause anything, but for people who may be immunocompromised and can't get vaccinations because they don't have the immune system to fight off the mild form of the disease that's in each vaccination. The newborns, because babies don't really get vaccinated until like a couple months to a year. The elderly, because at that point it'll be so long ago that you got vaccinated that your body might not be able to remember how to fight the disease off, since it was such a long time ago. Pregnant women, since they are caring for a second child, or not a second child, a second human inside their body, so their immune system has to also fight diseases that may come to that child. You are affecting a lot of people by not vaccinating your children. Not just yourself. You are affecting everyone around you. The reason diseases like measles have died off in the United States of America is this thing called herd immunization. Now, you guys may or may not have heard of herd immunization, but it is basically like everybody in a specific area will be immune to something as long as a majority of those people got vaccinated. You are getting rid of the herd immunity the United States has built up to certain diseases. And that is very bad because you can't stop a woman from getting pregnant and keeping the baby. There's no way to stop cancer from fighting your body. You can't stop people from becoming old. There is no way to vaccinate a newborn since, well, they were just born and they need to get used to it before getting their first vaccination. I'm not so sure on the newborn thing. I haven't had kids because I'm 14, but... Well, I shouldn't say that because teen moms do exist, but my mom would kill me if I had a kid at 14. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. But basically, by not vaccinating your children, you are affecting your whole entire community. Because, you can't stop all these illnesses from coming to you. Or from coming to the people around you. Well, pregnancy isn't really an illness, but still. But you can stop the illness that the vaccination prevents by getting your kids vaccinated. If you don't get your kids vaccinated, I have automatically lost all respect for you. So please get your kids vaccinated. And if you don't, keep them home. You're killing your kids that way by taking them anywhere. You are annoying as fuck, and you're probably killing your community too. So, by not vaccinating your kids, you're technically guilty of murder on multiple different charges. And you can't be innocent by reason of insanity, because even though you aren't sane for not vaccinating your children, insanity is something like you want to kill someone based on the fact that they are who they are. Like, you want to kill someone based on the fact of that and nothing else. And you probably had a terrible home life if you're insane. You anti-vaxxers probably don't know you're killing your kids, and that's the reason you're killing them. Because if the US can survive without vaccines in your head, then how come people before vaccinations got polio? They got the measles. They got the mumps. They got chickenpox, smallpox, what have you. These are all diseases that were eventually wiped out by vaccinations. Or at least I think chickenpox were wiped out by vaccinations. I don't know. I have not seen a kid in modern day with chickenpox or smallpox. I'm going to look it up real quick. Hold on, let me do that. Yeah, guys, they do have a vaccine for chickenpox. I don't know. But anyway, that's not my point. My point is that kids back then probably died from a lot of these diseases. Yeah, by bringing them back, you're forcing your own kids to die. So I guess it's a lose-lose situation for anti-vaxxers, because you're both stupid and a murderer. Nobody likes stupid people, and murderers go to jail. So yeah, I just wanted to hop on here and say my opinion on anti-vaxxers. But oh wait, I actually had an encounter with one. This person is actually an anti-vaxxer and an anti-masker. Great. Double stupid. Okay, let me show you this argument I had with this person. One request. I don't want to talk to you, lady. Learn your place. Anywho, my notifications. This person is like, guys, masks don't actually work. I was like, actually, doctors wear them around every patient, not just during COVID. They wear them because they don't know if the patient is sick or not with something airborne like the flu or a fever. Wearing a mask is not 100% effective, but it is around 80 to 90% effective in stopping the spread of airborne diseases. This is also the reason patients who are extremely contagious with something like COVID are often put into separate isolation rooms to prevent the spread of the virus. Wearing a mask is similar to a vaccination in that it A, prevents the spread of a potentially deadly disease, and B, protects newborns, the immunocompromised, the elderly, and basically anyone else that is at high risk of dying from this disease. So wear a damn mask, Karen. So Karen's like, vaccinations themselves are not safe. And I was like, were you dropped on the head, but on your head as a baby, Karen? There's no proof vaccines are not safe. Your twisted logic is stupid. An anti-masker and an anti-vaxxer, have fun going to all your kids' funerals. Without vaccines, people would be dying from things like the measles daily. Grow a fucking brain. So this Karen is like, there's so much evidence. Please watch Dr. Rashid Butter and any other doctor exposing these things. These people aren't doctors. If they got their PhD, that puts doctor in front of their name. That doesn't make them a medical doctor. That just means they are an expert in their field. And even if they are a medical doctor, they probably don't have their PhD and probably haven't gone to med school, so don't trust them. So I was like, those doctors are phonies. I'm gonna clear up some misconceptions. Myth number 1, vaccines cause autism. The widespread fear that vaccines increase risk of autism originated with a 1997 study published by Andrew Wakefield, a British surgeon. The article was published in The Lancet, a prestigious medical journal, suggesting that the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine was increasing autism in British children. Hold. The paper has since been completely discredited due to serious procedural errors, undisclosed financial conflicts of interest, and ethical violations. Andrew Wakefield lost his medical license, and the paper was retracted from the Lancet. Nonetheless, the hypothesis was taken seriously, and several other major studies were conducted. None of them found a link between any vaccine and the likelihood of developing autism. So that point's stupid. Myth number 2. Infant immune systems can't handle so many vaccines. Infant immune systems are stronger than you think. Based on the numbers of antibodies present in the blood, a baby would theoretically have the ability to respond to around 10,000 vaccines at one time. Even if all 14 vaccinations were given at once, it would only use up slightly more than 1% of a baby's 0.1% of a baby's immune capacity. And scientists believe that this capacity is purely theoretical. The immune system could never truly be overwhelmed because the cells in the system are constantly being replenished. In reality, babies are exposed to countless bacteria and viruses every day, and immunizations are negligible in comparison. Though there are more vaccinations than ever before, today's vaccines are far more efficient. Small children are actually exposed to fewer immunologic components overall than children in the past decades. Myth number 3. Natural immunity is better than vaccine-acquired immunity. In some cases, natural immunity, meaning actually catching a disease and getting sick, results in a stronger immunity to the disease than a vaccination, like a cold or a flu or even a fever. The same thing with chickenpox, because it was believed you could only ever get chickenpox once in your lifetime. However, the dangers of this approach far outweigh the relative benefits. If you wanted to gain immunity to measles, for example, by contracting the disease, you would face a 1 in 500 chance of death from your symptoms. So, yeah. Myth number 4. Vaccines contain unsafe toxins. People have concerns over the use of formaldehyde, mercury, or aluminum in vaccines. It's true that these chemicals are toxic to the human body in certain levels, but only trace amounts of these chemicals are used in FDA-approved vaccines. In fact, according to the FDA and the CDC, formaldehyde is produced at higher rates by our own metabolic systems, and there is no scientific evidence that the low levels of this chemical, mercury, or aluminum in vaccines could be harmful. See Section 3 of this guide to review safety information about these chemicals and how they are used in vaccines. Yeah, I took this from a website. Better hygiene and sanitation are actually responsible for decreased infections, not vaccines. Vaccines don't deserve all the credit for reducing or eliminating rates of infectious disease. Better sanitation, nutrition, the development of antibiotics helped a lot too. But when these factors are isolated and rates of infectious disease are scrutinized, the role of vaccines cannot be denied. One example is measles in the United States. When the first measles vaccine was introduced in 1963, rates of infection had been holding steady at around 400,000 cases a year. And while hygienic habits and sanitation didn't change much over the following decade, the rate of measles infections dropped precipitously I know a lot of words I can spell but not pronounce. Precipitously following the introduction of the vaccine, with only around 25,000 cases by 1970. Another example is HIV disease. According to the CDC data, the incidence of this rate for this malady plummeted from around 20,000 in 1990 to around 1,500 in 1993, following the introduction of the vaccine. Myth number 6, vaccines aren't worth the risk. Despite parent concerns, children have been successfully vaccinated for decades. I'm one of those children. In fact, there's never been a single credible study linking vaccines to long-term health conditions. As for immediate danger from vaccines in the form of allergic reactions to severe side effects, the incidence of death are so rare they can't even truly be calculated. For example, only one death was reported to the CDC between 1990 and 1992. That was attributable to a vaccine. The overall incidence rate of severe allergic reaction to vaccines is usually placed around 1 case for every 1 or 2 million injections. Myth number 7. Vaccines can infect my child with the disease it's trying to prevent. Vaccines can cause mild symptoms resembling those of the disease they are protecting against. Common misconception is that these symptoms signal infection. In fact, in a small percentage, less than 1 in 1 million cases where symptoms do occur, the vaccine recipients are experiencing a body's immune response to the vaccine, not the disease itself. There's only one recorded instance in which a vaccine was shown to cause a disease. This was the oral polio vaccine, which is no longer used in the U.S. since then. Vaccines have been in safe use for decades and follow strict Food and Drug Administration regulations. Myth number 8. We don't vaccinate because of infection. Infection rates are already so low in the United States. Thanks to herd immunity, so long as a large majority of people are immunized in any population, even the unimmunized minority will be protected. With so many people resistant, an infection disease will never get a chance to establish itself and spread. This is important because there will always be a portion of the population, infants, pregnant women, elderly, and those with weakened immune systems with diseases such as cancer that can't receive vaccines. But if too many people don't vaccinate themselves or their children, they contribute to a collective danger, opening up opportunities for viruses and bacteria to establish themselves and spread. That's why the fucking measles came back. Not to mention, as the CDC warned, international travel is growing quickly, so even if a disease is not a threat in your country, it may be common elsewhere. If someone were to carry in a disease from abroad, an unvaccinated individual will be at far greater risk of being sick if he or she is exposed. I mean, think about it. That's the reason why COVID exists in the United States or any other place. It's because someone from the country where COVID started came either back or to the U.S., and then the people from the U.S., not knowing they had symptoms of this new disease, COVID, traveled elsewhere. And that is why COVID exists in places that aren't just China. So we cannot really blame the Chinese for this virus being so widespread when it's really pretty much all of us traveling. Vaccines are one of the great Vaccines are one of the great pillars of modern medicine. Life used to be especially brutal for children before vaccinations, with huge portions being felled by diseases like measles, smallpox, whooping cough, or rubella, to name just a few. Today, these ailments can be completely prevented with a simple injection. So science continues to advance and tackle new challenges. People should not forget how many deaths and illnesses vaccines have prevented, and how many continue to protect us from potentially devastating forms of infectious disease. And of course, I linked this wonderful TED Talk by the kid nurse. I can't remember her real name. Hold on, I'll try to find it. Danielle Stringer. This TED Talk is something you guys should watch if you want to learn about an anti-vaxxer who turned pro-vax after learning about this one doctor with a kid that had leukemia, I believe, and he sent her an email, and it completely changed her mind on vaccination. So, kudos to that doctor. You changed a woman's mind. You should be proud of yourself. I hope your daughter made a full recovery from leukemia. And if she didn't, and she unfortunately passed, just know that she is in the good graces of whoever you believe in, and past family members that have passed away. That's how you treat someone with loss. And if you don't know if someone has lost someone, you say, I hope this person made a full recovery, but if they have not, I am sorry for your loss. That is how you treat someone who has lost someone. Well, anyway, that's besides the point. My point was that, well, pretty much any anti-vaxxer's point is, and that is that we're tired of seeing your kids die. We're tired of looking at the news and seeing another precious little baby has passed on due to a disease that was easily preventable by a vaccine. We're tired of it. And if you're anti-vax, you shouldn't have had kids in the first place. Because a lot of people can't have kids. A lot of people also can't just easily adopt because adoption takes time. So you need to take the fact that you can have kids biologically, not with a grain of salt, but to heart. Because there are a lot of people in the U.S. struggling with a thing called infertility. And they can't have kids, but I'm pretty sure if they did have kids, they wouldn't treat them wrong. Because it was their precious little baby that they tried so hard for, that they prayed and prayed would come one day. So, you can't be out here abusing the fact that you can biologically have kids by not vaccinating them. That's an equivalent of a kick in the tits or a kick in the nuts to someone who can't have children, because they will gladly take your children away and treat them right. This is why if you can have kids, and you fall pregnant, you shouldn't get an abortion if you don't want it. You should put it up for adoption, because there are plenty of couples who have tried and tried and tried and tried, but just can't have a baby. So yeah, basically my point is, don't abuse the fact that you have kids by not vaccinating them. Be good to your kids and listen to them. I mean, I remember getting a vaccination that my dad didn't follow through with because he forgot about it. I don't blame him. But I never experienced symptoms of the disease, even if I didn't get a follow through, because I thought I would die if I didn't get a follow through, but I'm still here. Like, your child will not die if you get them vaccinated. Sure, you might have to deal with their whining that their arm is sore because of the injection site, but that's about probably the worst thing you have to endure with getting your kids vaccinated. Trust me, you will thank yourself if you vaccinate your kids, because one day you might run into a fellow anti-vax parent. You say hello with your unvaccinated kid. The second unvaccinated parent, anti-vax parent, has a son named Timmy, and well, Timmy is special because his parents decided, hey, we're not gonna vaccinate little Timmy. And little Timmy, he ended up with a disease called human papillomavirus. You may think nothing of little Timmy. You may say, oh, little Timmy's parents are great because they're anti-vax, but you just exposed little Billy to HPV. And that is bad because human papillomavirus, I think it can lead to things like HIV and AIDS. Hold on, I'm not quite entirely sure.
Cervical and other cancers. It can also cause cancer in the back of the throat.
Google. HPV can cause cervical and other cancers, including cancer of the vulva, vagina, dick, or butt. It can also cause cancer in the back of the throat, including the base of the tongue and tonsils, called oropharyngeal cancer. Cancer often takes years, even decades, to develop after a person gets HPV, but there's a vaccine you can give your kids when they are 12 or 13 while they are getting their second MMR vaccine. You can just go, hey, my child is going into 7th grade, and these are the required vaccinations, but can I also give them a dose of the HPV vaccination? And then you come back and get another dose. You do this because you don't want your kid to develop cancer later on in life.